On this episode, we discuss why we started a new season and what it means for the show.
So if you want more details on some of the cool new stuff we're debuting for the new season, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to episode 1 of season 4 of the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian whose love affair with Bangkok began about a year after I moved here. The moral of the story is that sometimes it takes time.
Apparently. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract 19 years ago, fell in love with it raining at exactly 5 p.m. every day, and I never left.
It's like that in Back to the Future Part 2, where the rain starts and stops on the second, right?
Well,
Nice.
I don't know what it is about the rainy season in Thailand, but you get these days that mostly are beautiful, and then as the end of my workday approaches, like around 4:45, like clouds form, and at 5 p.m. there's a torrential downpour.
Right, just as everyone's getting in their cars to drive home.
Yeah, I mean, just as I'm trying to leave my university, there's a torrential downpour. I swear to God, it happens 4 days a week for the last 4 months. Anyway, we want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Skip McGraw, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Stick around after we're done talking about all the cool new stuff in Season 4 to hear why Skip is now the official lighting guy for the Bangkok Podcast. But best of all, patrons like Skip also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and random topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about a ridiculous meal that Greg had today. And we also chatted about my ongoing saga of renovating an empty shop house into a livable space. Some interesting construction, home improvement adventures I'm having. So if that sounds cool, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support and become a patron.
Yeah, man, I'm very jealous of your home improvement experience because I've always wanted to do that. But as we talk about in the bonus show, I have no idea where to start. So I'll let you be the patsy and then I'll learn from your mistakes.
All right, no problem.
Cool. All right, well, to kick off season 4, the first thing we're going to get into here is we are doing a little bit of a giveaway. Now, one of my good friends and patron of the show, Karsten Eichholz, has co-written a book called Working in Thailand. And the back of the book says, in part, in Working in Thailand, you will read about people who have catapulted their careers through television, business, modeling, and science. Westerners also explain how they have found their jobs, overcome intercultural challenges, and kept themselves employed. So I haven't had time to read it yet. I just met Karsten for breakfast the other day, and I haven't had time to go through it yet. But I have flipped through it, and it looks really cool. And Karsten is a super smart guy. So if you are interested in learning how to navigate the business world of Bangkok or coming here and getting set up and finding jobs, then you will probably love this book. So here's what we're going to do. If you want a copy of the book, send an email to bangkokpodcast@gmail.com with the subject book. And on Friday, 25th of October, we will take all the names who wrote in to that email address and randomly select 3 to get a copy of the book, and we'll contact you and send it out to wherever you are in the whole world. So that's pretty cool. Many thanks to Karsten for giving us a couple of copies of his book. And we might do another one of these giveaways on a future show because I think we have about 6 or 7 of these books. So,
Dude, I want one of those books, damn it. Don't give it away.
You have a job already. What do you need to know about working in Bangkok?
No, working in Thailand, I need to get a real job.
Well, send an email to the thing.
Maybe I'll win.
Who's this? Ed Knuth? I can't give one to him. Yeah, and if you want more info on the book, you can go to expatden.com/Thailand/working-in-Thailand-book, and we'll have a link in our show notes. So, thanks, Karsten, and good luck to everyone who sends in an email. All right, well, on this episode, we are going to get into details on the big, shiny, brand new Season 4 of the Bangkok Podcast, of which this is episode number 1. And we want to get into just chatting about a few changes that we've made to the new segments we'll be introducing and some of the new and improved content for our patrons, new graphics, and, a bunch of little stuff here and there. So to kick it off, Ed, I want to ask you, now that we're into Season 4, looking back on Season 3, What do you think?
Well, I got to say, man, I have learned a lot, and I think we did a 1-year anniversary show after I'd done it for 1 year, and now it's been more than a year and a half and 80 shows. I can't believe it, man. I can't believe I've done 80 shows.
It's crazy. And the thing, we often get messages from people and they send like, oh, remember in this show you said this, or I say something on the show like, oh, I don't know if I've ever talked about that. And then someone will write an email. Yeah, you talked about this in season 3. But the thing that maybe is hard to understand is that when you do a weekly show like this, like as soon as we're done the episode, like as soon as it's edited and posted online, like I've forgotten all about it. I'm on to the next one,
Right, because we got a new show coming up. I mean, I think part of the problem is also just the age I'm at. I mean, my short-term
doesn't help.
My short-term memory is just getting worse and worse. And so, I mean, this has happened with you and I a couple times where I give you an idea for a show and you're like, dude, we already did that. Like we did that. And I'm like, oh shit, we did. Yeah. So I can barely remember what we've done. But I don't know, man. I think that, it was basically your suggestion to cut off season 3 and, make a few changes for season 4. And I think it's a great idea. I'm psyched. I mean, we're keeping probably, I would say, 90% of the show the same. And so we're just making some tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for the changes. I think there's going to be good things both for our general listeners, some changes, but also changes for the patrons as well. So I think everybody wins.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've settled on a pretty good format here. And I don't want to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't want to futz with it too much. So I think we're going to keep most of it. We're going to get into some changes in a little bit. But it is funny looking back now. Like you look back on, I was just flipping back through all of our previous episodes of season 3, and I'm like, oh, that was like 6 months ago. Like, oh, that was a year and a half ago. Geez,
right?
Like it's so easy. All these past episodes kind of mash together into one sort of cloud of topics that we've maybe discussed at some point or another. But I forget all the nuance and details that came up in every episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, we decided to cut it off at episode 80 because season 1 we did 76 episodes, and then Tony moved to Japan. Season 2 with me and Evo, we did 72 episodes, and so as we were approaching 80, we thought, well, let's just cut it off at 80. That seems like a good number. No particular reason, but I think it's cool every once in a while to sort of step back, take a breather, and sort of reassess a couple of things.
So that means I've done more shows than either Tony or Evo.
That's right, man. Right. You are the new co-host champion.
All right, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think 80 is a good number. It's kind of like roughly kind of a year and a half or so. And it's good. It's just good to tweak. It's good to make changes. It's good to step back. I think we got a good thing going, like you said. So I don't think we need to make gigantic changes. But there's definitely a few things here and there that I think we can improve.
Yeah. And I look back and did some quick math. It's not super accurate, but it's roughly accurate. So the episodes in season 1 were roughly, say, 45 to 50 minutes each. And in season 2, they were roughly 30 to 45 minutes each, and the same for season 3. So 76 episodes, 72 episodes, 80 episodes. So I have figured it out. We have roughly, the Bangkok Podcast as we have roughly done 148 hours of Bangkok content.
That is a lot of stuff.
And that's, I just realized that's not even including the bonus episodes.
Right. I mean, more or less, you kind of got to double that.
Well, maybe not double, but yeah, I would say at least 220 hours of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff, man. Listeners, we got a lot of back content, and all you got to do is go to the website and you can listen to dozens of shows.
Right. Also patrons too. You can go back on the Patreon website and scroll back to all the past stuff, videos and photos and all that stuff. But so let's get into some of the changes that we're going to make for season 4. What's the first one we should discuss? What do you think?
So one thing that Greg and I realized is we give a lot of advice on the show, but the advice is spread out over different episodes. And if someone is looking for information, it might not be that easy to find quickly. You might have to dig through past shows and maybe listen to a whole show. So we decided to add a resource page to the website. So essentially it'll be a page of resources, and then we're going to make blog posts on that resource page on common issues that expats and tourists have. So essentially, it will be concentrated Bangkok podcast advice from both Greg and I, and our experience, plus stuff we have learned from our guests. So, for example, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm working on a very basic Thai language blog post to put on the resource page. So kind of the first and most basic Thai you should learn when you come to Thailand, and my take and also Greg's take on what words are the most important words to know. And then I'm also working on a page just on Thai culture to help foreigners deal with Thai people and the way they think and how to interact with them. So those will be up when this goes live. At least one of those blog posts will be up when this goes live.
Yeah, and I wrote one too about, I highlighted 3 websites that have maybe been overlooked in the explosion of, the big boys websites like Lonely Planet and things like this. So there's a lot of really good websites out there. There's a lot of crap ones too, but there's a lot of really good ones that have kind of gotten overlooked. So I list 3 websites that are particular to Bangkok that have a ton of good information, but you might not know about. And this isn't something that we're going to do regularly. It's just sort of like every once in a while, maybe we'll think like, oh, we should do something like that. Or maybe we'll have an idea that would be good, but we can't build a whole show around it. So we'll say, oh, that might make just a blog post on the resources page. So that's the idea behind that. I think it'll be fun.
The bottom line is it will be a place you can go on the website where you can kind of quickly access information as opposed to having to listen to a show to find out something.
Right.
And we're hoping to, we don't know exactly how often we'll put blog posts up, but the idea is that we would update those blog posts to keep them current. So we've got a bunch of ideas. We're going to do one on the Bangkok transit system, which Greg actually knows a lot about, but the transit system is kind of constantly changing. So having a resource where you could go to and find out about the BTS or the MRT or the new rail lines, I think will be a useful thing for our listeners. So I think the resource page is a good upgrade. Maybe not earth-shattering upgrade, but I think it's a good useful resource for our listeners. Right.
And hey, let's be honest, it helps people discover the podcast, keep pumping out content. And
That's
Google
right.
is our friend.
That's right. So what's next, man? What other changes are there, Mr. Greg?
Well, the big one that I'm excited about is the store, our shop, our swag store.
Merch. Sweet.
Yeah, merch. Bangkok Podcast merch. So if you go to the website, you will also see the resources page at the top, and you'll also see a shop. I think it's shop. And we thought, like, again, it's not an earth-shattering decision, but we thought we're proud of our visual identity. We like our logo, and we've got a couple of cool things to offer. So there's a couple of neat T-shirts on there. We've commissioned an artist to draw some special customized art for our T-shirts that we're going to put on there. We got a couple of different logos. We got a coffee mug, even a fridge magnet. So,
dude, I'll tell you, man, I like the artist that you got, man. I like his, I like his stuff.
He's so good, man. I've never met him.
Oh, really?
Dude's name is Simon. He lives in Singapore, and I was introduced to him via his wife, who follows me on Twitter. And yeah, he did all the artwork for my website, my Greg to Differ website, and he's
great,
he's a superstar, man. Yeah, he's really good. And actually, I got as we were starting the bonus show, which we just finished, I got an email from him with an updated, like, final design of the new shirt design that I'm going to send to you, which is really funny.
Man, the cartoons are great, man.
Yeah, he's so good. So anyway, you can have a chance to wear some custom Bangkok Podcast branded stuff. And not everyone's cup of tea, but if you like this kind of stuff, I thought it'd be fun to have it up there. So if you want to take a look, just head to the website and look at the shop tab on the top bar there. Check it out.
Nice.
It'll be fun. I already have one of our mugs at work. I drink coffee out of my Bangkok Podcast mug. Got our Bangkok Podcast fridge magnet on my desktop.
Dude, that is pretty much the definition of cool.
I think so. Yeah, all the ladies love it, and everyone is jealous of me.
All right. Another change, which we've been talking about for a while, is to provide more content, some upgraded content for our patrons. So up until now, mostly our patrons have gotten the bonus show and occasionally some photos or videos, and we've really decided to upgrade that. And so we're going to try to add more content on the Patreon page for patrons. In particular, at least for some of our interviews, we're going to try videotaping our interviews and providing some video content. So you're going to get to see Greg and I on camera, which might not be an upgrade. I don't know. Should we call it an upgrade?
I don't know. What do you call a lateral grade? Like, it's, maybe it's a downgrade. I don't know.
To be honest, the idea of doing like a video podcast is something that Greg and I, to be honest, never really wanted to do. No. But it's worth a try. So we're gonna give it the old college try, and honestly, patrons or anyone who gets to see this stuff, we need some honest feedback. So maybe we're not made to be on camera, Greg.
I'm pretty sure I'm not made to be on camera. I've got a face for radio, as my mom always said. No, just kidding. She never said that. But yeah, I mean, maybe the people won't really like watching the Patreon stuff, the video stuff, and you know, it's a ton of work to do. So maybe it's not even going to be worth it.
Well, we'll see. It's an experiment. Life is an experiment, Greg.
Ooh, that's deep. Maybe we should put that Bangkok Podcast, Life is an Experiment, on a t-shirt, sell it on the swag store.
It'll work. No, seriously, I think I actually I'm a photographer. I'm a hobbyist photographer and videographer, so I love to make videos. But part of the reason, it's funny, I have this clear memory when I was a kid. Part of the reason I started taking pictures is that I hated to be in front of the camera. I hated to have my picture taken.
Oh, really?
So why, so to be honest, I like the idea of you being on camera, and I'll be the filmmaker and you can be on camera.
Well, I don't mind being in camera just because I'm shameless. I think I look ridiculous and I hate watching myself, but I'm fine being in front of a camera or in front of a crowd or something like that.
All right. Well, either way, our patrons, you will get access to at least Greg and maybe a little bit of me on camera, and we want some honest feedback. Be honest. We appreciate honesty.
Yeah. Apologies in advance.
Yeah, that's right.
And and one of the other things we're going to really try working on is, especially for interviews when we have a guest on the show, our patrons will get some behind the scenes photos, perhaps even some video of that interview and the guest that we're talking to. Every guest that's coming up on season 4, we've got about 4 or 5 ready to go, already in the can, as they say in the biz. And I've already got pictures of all those people, so patrons will get to see who we're talking to and some cool stuff like that. And we're also going to try and put up some more behind the scenes stuff, pictures of the production process and, our workflow and stuff like that. I think it's only really of interest to kind of maybe audio or podcast nerds, but yeah, maybe not. So the point is we're going to be putting more stuff out there for our patrons and make it a more value added proposition for them, which is going to be fun.
For sure.
And, I forgot to mention, patrons also get a 20% discount on the swag on our shop.
Oh, sweet. So how do they get that discount?
There's a special coupon code they can use, but tricky, Ed. We're only going to release that to our patrons on the bonus show.
I see. So you got to listen to the bonus show to get the 20% discount.
Yeah, it's not like we're protecting the nuclear football or anything, but we got to have some secrets.
That's right. So what else is going to be new? What else we got?
And we're talking about our patrons and some extra stuff for them, specifically for our $5 patrons. We love our $5 patrons because it's our biggest group of patrons, and they get a cool shout out, which we do enjoy doing every week. But I figured that once the shout out is done, you and I were chatting about it. Once the shout out is done, there's really not that's kind of the end of it. That's kind of the end of this special sort of $5 patron thing. So $5 patrons, please go to your profile. And in the box where you can add additional info, write your birthday in. Because what we're going to add for the $5 patrons is we're going to send you a postcard every year on your birthday.
Wow.
From me and Ed to you. Handwritten. It's a lot of work for us, man.
That's right.
Yeah. Got to get my writing muscles back in shape. And also, all of our existing $5 patrons will get that. And all of our new $5 patrons for season 4, they will also get to suggest a topic that you and I will discuss on an upcoming bonus show. So they'll actually have a hand in sort of planning out one of the topics we chat about, which is pretty neat.
So, Greg, I just want to clarify. So you're saying only the new $5 patrons get to suggest a topic for the bonus show. Is that right?
Yeah. And it's unfortunately we can't do it for all existing $5 patrons. Otherwise we'd have bonus show suggestions take us into like season 6, which just isn't manageable. So apologies for that. Existing patrons, we still love you, and you'll get a postcard on your birthday, but only new patrons will get to suggest a topic for a bonus show.
Actually, well, maybe we should put it this way. You're always welcome to give us suggestions, because we need suggestions, but we can't guarantee we're going to use your topic unless you're a new $5 patron. So new $5 patrons or above, of course, will work with you to use your topic for sure.
Word. Well said. And what else we got?
Well, I think this is a fairly big deal, man. This has been some time in the making, and I got a feeling it might go through some changes. So again, life is an experiment. I guess that's the theme of season 4, huh? Life is an experiment. We got to give credit where credit is due. Isn't this new segment something that Evo thought of?
Yeah, actually, it was something that Evo suggested like at the beginning of season 2, but we never actually got around to sort of digging into it. But it's only in the past like 4 or 5 months that you and I really started talking about it, and only in the past month or so where we actually put it into action.
Yeah. Now, we don't want to shock our listeners with this idea, because I think it's fairly out there, this idea, but Greg and I actually got this idea of having a Thai person on the Bangkok podcast.
It's crazy.
It's a shocking idea. But the basic idea, we're going to call the segment Token Thai. And the basic concept is we have a real live Thai person, like a Homo sapien who happens to be Thai.
You nerd.
And we're actually going to ask them questions about Thai culture, and they're also going to ask us questions about why foreigners do things the way that we do.
Yeah, the idea was that the podcast exists in part so that Ed and I, or Evo and I, or Tony and I can sort of talk our way through understanding this different culture that we find ourselves living in the middle of. And we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to turn things around a little bit and maybe have a Thai person on to ask us questions about Farang culture that they don't understand? Like, why do you do this? And why is this the way that you think? Because, we're in the middle of this strange place, and we have to learn to live here. So it's all about information exchange, cultural exchange.
Sure.
We're all trying to figure it out. So for this, we won't have any segment of it this week, because, to be honest with you, I'm not done editing it. But we sat down with our friend Bowling, one of our old friends, Bowling, who is a lovely, smart, fiercely cool Thai woman. And,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, we recorded a couple of different segments, and we're still playing with it a little bit, like Ed said, but we're going to be premiering that in the next 1 or 2 episodes. And we get into some interesting conversations. It's not going to be a long segment. It's only going to be a few minutes long, and it's going to go at the end of a regular episode, but it should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, in our defense, we have Thai people on the show all the time as guests, but when we have people on as guests, we're talking about whatever issue is appropriate for the show. So we typically, with our Thai guests, we don't sit there and chit-chat about Thai culture. You know?
I think of Bowling almost as like a special guest co-host.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. So it's like the idea of Token Thai is that this will be on smaller bites. Instead of having just a Thai guest on to talk about some big topic, these will be like just bite-sized conversations about interesting cultural issues in both directions.
Yeah. Well said. It engenders discussion and thought. All right, and the last thing we're going to mention, it's actually not really a change to the format of the show, but it's more of like a tease for what's coming up next week. And next week is going to be the first show of a 2-part interview with someone who you may have heard of. We thought we'd kick off the 4th season with a bang, and we are going to be talking with Taopiphop Lim Jitrakon. And if you don't know who that is, you probably should, because he's quite popular on social media these days. He is a Thai craft beer connoisseur and activist, and probably most importantly, a member of parliament with the Future Forward Party. So he's a really, really cool guy. We met him at our previous meetup where he came down and started chatting with us, and we really liked him. So we sat down with him a couple of weeks ago for quite a long and very, very interesting conversation that dives into the beer scene in Bangkok and the legalities of doing business in Bangkok. And then we got into politics, and nothing controversial, nothing too like explosive or anything like that, just sort of more of the landscape and how he became a politician after literally going to jail for following his passion of craft beer.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really cool conversation. We're super excited to have him on.
Yeah, I got to say this. Tao is just a super interesting guy. Tao, I hope you're listening, man. We really enjoyed doing the interview. And listeners out there, this is an interview you don't want to miss. There's just no one like Tao out there. I mean, he's basically a guy, his life stream is to have his own like microbrewery, and he basically became a member of Thai parliament in order to change the Thai law just so he could make his own beer. Like, if that's
dedication, man.
If that's not a good story, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that, and it'll be fun. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Whew. All right, a lot to go over, but we got some cool stuff coming up. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept it as something that we just have to learn to accept no matter how we feel about it. And this week, it is my turn.
All right.
Ed, I have something pretty simple for you. What do you think of seaweed-flavored anything?
You know, it's surprising that you brought that up, because I just did a beer run at 7-Eleven, and I got some nori seaweed flavored Lay's potato chips.
You did?
Yeah, I just did it on my beer run. So it's funny because in general, I'm not a seaweed fan. I don't get it, but for some reason, I do recommend the nori seaweed Lay's potato chips. So I'm gonna have to go. I love those. But it's funny. I don't know. You know, the seaweed stuff exists in the States. I feel like seaweed is kind of some health food thing, right? But it is more popular. It is more popular in Asia, huh?
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I think it's sort of in the West. I think it's sort of seen as like a cousin to kale, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I don't know. It's like I've had other dishes and stuff with seaweed in it, and I'm not a fan. But you know, it's a weird thing. In general, when they try to like flavor something in processed food, you know, like for example, there's a lot of like squid or octopus flavored stuff, like octopus flavored potato chips. Like that stuff is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. You know what I mean? And I think I shied away from like the seaweed flavored potato chips for a long time, but then I think I grabbed them once thinking they were something else, you know? And I gotta say, they're not bad. They're not bad.
Really? Well, I don't mind seaweed, but I'm certainly not going out of my way to eat it. Chips, I don't know why you would eat seaweed chips when right next to it are like regular chips or sour cream and onion. I'll eat seaweed, but I'm gonna have to go solid live with on this one. Like if it's there, sure, but I'm not looking for it.
Well, I'm gonna have to give a split answer because I gotta say I love the Lay's Norway seaweed potato chips, but other than that, I do in general like loathe like fish flavored stuff, seaweed flavored stuff. In general, I try to avoid it.
Well, that's probably a good idea because it's all made by some mad scientist flavor people in a lab.
That's
chemicals.
Right.
There's nothing natural about it.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Skip McGraw for lending us his support at the show shout-out level. Greg, what did you find out about Skip?
Well, as it turns out, our buddy Skip lives in La La Land. That's Los Angeles, the other city of angels.
That's
in
right.
California. Yeah, and he works as a lighting technician on film and television.
Cool.
Which is a pretty cool job. And check this out, Ed. He's also good friends with our buddy Richie, another well-known film guy who lives here in Bangkok.
Wow. Well, Richie knows everybody.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of a legendary figure. But anyway, since I figure Skip was a lighting guy, the next time we film our Patreon video, we want to update it. with our friend Guy who filmed it for us, Skip might be able to come over here and help us with the lighting, mostly so I can hide my double chin. Like maybe light me from some cool angle, use some weird gels or something like that.
Hey man, now that we're going to shoot video, man, we need all the help we can get.
Right. Can you imagine like the rough cut of the video? It's like, are you ready? Ready? Okay, ready? Beep, beep. Action. And then the light turns on, and then there's like you and me looking like Quasimodo, and then the light turns on, and it's like George Clooney and Brad Pitt standing next to each other.
If he can do that, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And also Skip was saying that he learned the phrase TIT from listening to the show. This is Thailand.
Oh, great.
So, so I figured if we ever wanted to hang out with Skip one day in Los Angeles, Ed, you and I should learn some LA slang ourselves.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I did some research online, and here's a few that I thought might come in handy. So did you know when you go into In-N-Out Burger, which is a California business, you can order your burgers animal style?
Really? I don't think I've never heard that. I have been to In-N-Out Burger way back in the day, but I've never heard of animal style.
Yeah, I've never been to In-N-Out Burger, but animal style apparently means you have mustard baked into the hamburger patty.
Whoa. That actually sounds kind of good.
I think that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think I could have that
all the way. Yeah. Another piece of LA slang, apparently, if you unexpectedly help a situation, you can say it's clutch.
Oh, dude, I know clutch. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest. We say clutch. Yeah, clutch
really?
Clutch is something crucial or key. It's like when you save something, it's clutch. Yeah.
Yeah. The example I read was like, man, we didn't have a corkscrew, but Ed found one in his backpack, totally clutch.
Oh yeah, man. So that's a Midwestern Ohio thing. So I guess it's big in California as well. But we definitely said clutch when I was growing up.
Are you telling me something I read online was not true?
No. It could be a Cali thing too. I'm not saying it's not true. It could be a Cali thing.
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because this list I was reading also said never refer to California as Cali.
Oh, really? Well, that shows you that I'm not from California. There you go.
That's right. I also heard that saying Frisco and for like drives people from San Francisco crazy.
Oh, really? I wouldn't know that because I'm from the Midwest.
And finally, if you're in LA and you hear something that says SIG alert, it means that the road has been closed for 30 minutes or more usually due to a high-speed police chase.
Really? A SIG alert. What does SIG mean?
I don't know. Signal? SIG?
Significant?
Significant?
Huh. That's weird. I didn't even know there was, to be honest, I didn't know there was LA specific slang. I know we've got some listeners from LA, so maybe they can fill us in on this LA slang.
I'm going to start calling my wife my SIG-O, my significant other. See what she thinks about that.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Skip. We really appreciate it, man. And when you come to Bangkok next time, let us know because you and me and Ed and Richie, we're going out and we're going to have a SIG good time. That's a significant good time.
Okay. Thank you, Skip. And thank you to all of our patrons who help keep the show ad-free. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website and connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners, and we always reply to our messages.
Yeah, and you can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can chat with us online, or even reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers to season 4. Here's looking forward to many more episodes, and we will see you back here next week.
Absolutely.
Do you remember Foghorn Leghorn?
Yeah, of course.
I'll say, boy.
He's such a weird character.
It's like this freakishly
he's like
large
southern,
chicken.
He's supposed to be like a southern gentleman, like a southern aristocrat, right?
Yeah, I always thought of him as like if the Colonel Sanders actually was a chicken.
Yeah.
Instead of killing them and eating them.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just popped into my head. I'll say, boy.
Yeah, it's a great character, though.
Foghorn Leghorn.
So American. It's just so randomly American.
Yeah.